Welcome to the Dream Show. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson, and this is episode 286. And my guest today, with a dream for us to explore and interpret, is Annabel Rolley. Annabel is a psychologist and a professional golfer based in Sydney, Australia. And she's the founder of Interpretr AI, a dream analysis and conversation app based on Freud and Jung's philosophies. And it's Annabel's passion for psychology and her fascination with the human mind that have been major motivations throughout her very successful career. So the app is a lot more than as just described. You're going to be totally fascinated by what you discover. The app is currently in free beta, meaning that you can be amongst the first to delve in there and experience the app and play with it and explore the amazing ways in which it can not only help you to explore your dreams, but also help you to explore other aspects of your life as well, and other things which I'm going to save for you to hear about after the dream. But let's begin with Annabel's dream. Welcome to the Dream Show, Annabel.
Oh, thank you so much, Jane. I am delighted to be with you today. I'm very excited to find out a little bit more about dreams today.
I'm very excited too, and I'm really interested in finding out more about your AI, dream interpreter, conversational, and lots of other wonderful things that it does. I've had a little look. I'm really excited, but of course this is the Dream Show, so we always start with the dream. So what did you bring for us today?
Well, Jane, I had the most peculiar dream 2 nights ago, and I'm so glad I have a fresh dream to tell you about, and I can say it's pretty nonsensical to me. So I'm very curious to hear what you find in this dream. So it starts at the beach. The setting is a beach. And the beach is not particularly familiar, but just a typical beach setting. The only thing that was of note on the beach is that it was very busy. And I'll get into a few other details as we go, but I'll start with saying that I was with my brother, I have 2 brothers, the oldest brother, and his wife and his 3 children were there. No one else was there with us in this group, and we were drinking coffee and we were having a really nice conversation. The mood was very happy, and we were sort of just taking in the surroundings as you normally would on the beach. Then there was about 3 or 4 pitched tents, and we started to file through them one by one, and it sort of had this feeling of curiosity, a little bit of fun, but nothing further than that. There was just, and I remember sort of, as you would going through a pitched tent, just sort of crouching down a little bit and walking through each tent. And then when we came out, it returned to coffee and talking, and we were looking at the beach, and this is where it gets really strange, Jane. There was people everywhere, like people on the beach sunbaking, people in the water, and then also in the water were many, many sharks, but nobody seemed alarmed by them. It seemed to be this feeling of that's how we go to the beach. We're at one with nature, and the sharks weren't really bothering anyone, and I could see lots and lots of fins, which was really odd. So I wasn't feeling alarmed in the dream. We were still talking and just conversing about, I don't know what, something very inconsequential. And then it shifted again, and there was a shark attack. And but there wasn't hysteria as you would expect. So it was just this feeling of, okay, another shark attack happens. And I wasn't involved. I didn't, like, the person that was attacked or bitten, I don't know the outcome of that. We didn't rush to that person, despite my brother being a doctor. There was none of that. It just seemed all very standard. So that was it. And then I remember that when I woke up, I recalled the dream with ease, which doesn't often happen with me. Sometimes I can only remember fragments of dreams, but in this one, I could remember really clearly the sequence of the coffee, the tents, the talking, the sharks, the scene, the shark attack, and then it was over. So I don't know what you make of that, Jane, but I am very interested in hearing your thoughts.
Thank you, Annabelle. I love that you had a very vivid dream when you knew you were going to be on the dream show, so it was nicely delivered for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, incredible timing. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'd say I dream almost every night, but I can't remember them all that clearly. Yeah,
And I think even though you said, it's a really strange kind of dream, you picked there that had a lovely sequencing in it, which enabled you to remember it. You could remember the flow of what happened, even though what happened was strange. You
correct.
woke up and were able to pick that, and that was a really good thing that kind of held the dream memory together. Yeah.
Okay.
The person who was the victim of the shark attack at the end,
Yes.
was it a male or female? Any sort of insight into who that was?
Not a lot. I've got a feeling it was a male and there was no further attachment. It wasn't somebody I knew. I didn't feel strongly about the shark attack, which is quite unusual. Obviously, I would, be very, very different in a real life situation. It would be very panic inducing and all of the rest. But yeah, so that was that component. No link to who it could be or any personal connection at all.
Yeah. And were they alive, injured? Did you get any sense?
I got a sense of that they were alive. I didn't get a feeling that the injured man was going to die or anything dire like that. It was just a feeling of that's happened. It's something that happens regularly. He'll be attended to and we'll all move on. That was sort of the feeling of
Yeah.
it.
I love the contrast between you saying if that happened in real life, you would panic. That was the first word you used. I would panic. I would get involved. I would do it, but I would also panic. And I guess, I don't know, someone like your brother who's a doctor may or may not be trained not to panic. They would just go in, cool, calm. This is what you do in an emergency situation. Whereas the first word that you chose there was panic, which I would panic too. I think most
Interesting
people
that
would
you,
panic.
yes, interesting that you hit on that point because my brother is trained in that regard, but also I think his overall sort of vibe and he is extremely calm, and so that is quite an important part of the dream. I think the influence of him and his personality and potentially his training as a doctor and everything else, maybe that's more important than well, I certainly didn't know what to make of this crazy dream, but that might be an important factor.
I think it's one of many important factors because you'll
Mm.
often get in a dream two opposites.
Hmm.
So you might have calm and then you might have panic, but in your dream you didn't have panic, but you had potential panic and the sharks, there was something amazing happening. So I think
Yes.
it is something along those lines. But the opening of a dream, as you probably know, often sets the theme or the question that the rest of the dream is going to explore. So you're opening with really lovely laid back coffee, just taking it all in and
Yes.
associated with your brother, just nice and calm. Taking time out. This is really lovely. And the
Yes.
coffee. What does it mean to you when you're drinking coffee normally? How does it...
So I love coffee. So there's a strong connection for me with coffee and yeah, I suppose in a little bit of indulgence, a little bit of happiness, routine. There's something because I have coffee every day and it's a really delightful experience for me, something I really look forward to every day. So
Yeah.
that's stronger than probably most people, I would say. I would say coffee is my guilty pleasure over other things like, in this world, alcohol or food or, I really do love coffee. So that's an interesting component.
I love that. It's a guilty pleasure, and yet everything you paint about it in the dream and in real life is actually, there's nothing to be guilty about. It's
Yes.
it's time out. It's beautiful. It's calming.
Mm.
It's a routine. So the beginning of the dream is sort of saying, okay, I do like routines in my life.
Mm.
This dream is maybe going on to explore a routine or a routine approach to life that I have, which includes guilty pleasure, but it also includes staying calm, maybe in trying to stay calm in difficult situations, even though I know that in waking life, in some situations I may panic. This dream may or may not go on to explore how I feel about routine and routine helping me to stay calm and stay away from panic.
What's incredible is that, Jane, you don't know that I have a high stakes exam on Friday. And so this is all resonating enormously. And I'm so glad that you didn't know that, because, that would lessen, I suppose, the impact of your expertise.
Yeah.
But I suppose this is all lining up to perfectly align with what I'm actually going through in my waking life, which I couldn't make head nor tail of when I first woke from that dream. And
Yeah.
now you're starting to basically paint a picture that is my existence right now. So very
That's
fascinating.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, because
Mm,
that's exactly what our dreams do. As you know, they reflect what's happening consciously and unconsciously in our waking life. And then we can stand back and look at that picture, go, that's what's happening to me. What else can I find out about myself in the dream that can contribute to this? So that throws another angle on why your brother was there, because he's presumably passed quite a few qualifying exams to be a doctor as
correct.
well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And particularly I think he's one of very few people I know that have done high stakes exams where you've studied for a long period.
Yes.
So, with his specialty, that's what he studied for a year and then sat the exams. With this, I'm a provisional psychologist. This is the final step in gaining registration. And so this I've been studying for 4 months, which
Yeah.
is, quite a long time to be, sort of dedicating yourself. And as that draws closer to Friday, there's pressure that goes with the amount of time you've invested in studying and how much, conscientiousness has gone with it,
Yes.
and all of these different things that make it such a momentous thing.
I love that you've
Mm.
taken an hour out to do this with me where are we at? One day before your exam.
Well, a couple of things there. One, I have prepared adequately, so I felt like this would actually be a nice hour break from it. And also, the other thing is they do say to do something different,
Yes.
and somehow that impacts how you can recall the information that you've been going over a lot.
Yes, and
Mm.
what better way to do something completely different but go into a dream, so you're totally out of it.
Mm.
Interesting that you said, Annabelle, about four
Hmm.
months, because there were 3 to 4 pitched tents. You said, I wrote it down,
Correct.
three to
So
four.
it's been 3 to 4 months.
Yeah,
So that
that's
is amazing.
yeah. And so in the dream, you crawled through, and I wrote down when you said it was like curiosity and just for fun. But
Hmm.
crouching down. So although you were obviously studying intensely, was there an
Hmm.
aspect of trying to keep it curious and fun, but crouching down, somewhat not being able to stand up to your full height and somewhat
Hmm.
limited or curious?
What? So how does the crouching? How do you explain that? What is the link I'm looking for?
I'm thinking that I guess it depends on your personal experiences of
Hmm.
camping. But
Oh,
you know,
okay.
there could have been big, tall camp tents that you just walked through.
I
Did
see.
did
I
did you
see.
feel uncomfortable crouching through them, or was that okay?
No, that was okay. That was more of it wasn't an uncomfortable feeling. It was more of the shape of the tent. I just felt like I was naturally moving as you would through the pyramid shape, rather than as you would through a door that is a rectangular shape where you would just walk straight through. I think that was maybe where I mentioned the word fun. It was like, this is a tent. This is different. I'm going to kind of not a crouch, but just a slight change of shape and posture, because of there would in the dream there was sort of your typical tent flaps of material. So
Yeah.
you're kind of maybe having to position your arms to move them apart. It was more of that than a crouching
Right.
down,
Okay.
sort of
It's like,
changing,
yeah.
my stature terribly. It was just a slight sort of opening of the tent, the gaping flaps and walking through.
So how closely is that a description of the last 3 to 4 months of studying? Like, some trying to fit a slightly different shape,
Yes. So
but
the
walking
first
through
thing that comes to
naturally.
mind, if I'm going to try and link that, is probably around more of the juggle of my life. So perhaps I wasn't able to 100% stand tall and focus on this exam. I absolutely wasn't. I was having to squeeze in the study around full-time work, interpreter, being a CEO of a new startup company, and then my family life. We have 3 children under 6. So that's, I think, maybe what I link towards slightly, crouching is the juggle that's involved instead of like a tunnel vision sort
Yes.
of situation, which maybe other students in the same position may have had.
I love that. And I love how you just happened to mention that you've got 3 children under the age of 6, which is absolutely huge.
Huge,
So
huge.
in a sense, that's another level of I'm just staying calm. I'm just going through the tense, and the tense may have
Hmm.
something to do with children as well. But I'm also interested that instead of just saying 3 to 4 tenths, you said 3 to 4 pitched tenths. And yeah,
Yes,
and kind of when you say a tent, most people already picture a pitched tent. So that puts
yes.
more emphasis on the word pitched. And I was
Okay.
wondering if there's something to do with pitching something or
Yes.
pitches, making pitches.
So I suppose, interesting. If I'm going to relate it to the exam, I would go with pictures, as in visual stimuli, because there's a lot of rote learning of certain symbols and certain, numbers and very specific uh, sort of elements of psychometric testing. So that's how I'd link it to the exam. If I was going to link it to pitching in my real life, then that would be the task that is ahead of me with the startup
Yes.
and talking about the startup and everything that it encompasses. So, but that's something in the future, not that I'm currently doing.
Yes.
Do either of those make
Yeah,
sense?
both. So, even though it seems slightly counterintuitive and slightly illogical, in dreams
Hmm.
we embrace things that even seem to be different things because they're
Okay.
often reflections of a similar thing that's going on with you. So,
Okay.
on one hand, with the exam, you're juggling, you're going through it, you did it successfully, but at the same time, some level of you is thinking, okay, I can do this successfully. I will be able to pitch my startup successfully as well. Or
Okay.
will I? I'm not sure. So you're kind of looking at the same two. And of course, when
Hmm.
you come out of that, you're not quite so sure about the startup because, whoa, what are all these sharks? What about these sharks? The
Yes.
situation looks different. Maybe when I come through and I've done my exam on Friday, then even though it's the future, at some stage
Hmm.
I've got to start pitching and looking at the
The next
startup,
thing.
yeah, the next
Mm.
thing, and my mind immediately goes sharks. Now we're not going to spend a lot of time in your dream because we've got a lot else to do, but I do
Okay.
want to do the little sharks. One of the things you clearly showed in the dream that was that you stayed as calm as you possibly could about these sharks, which was good.
Okay.
You said it was like they were at one with nature, which is good. So it's almost like saying,
Hmm.
let's say the sharks are your fears. Let's say they're the
Hmm.
frightening things. I've got
Hmm.
fears about pitching my startup,
Hmm.
but I'm at one with myself with that. I'm at one
Hmm.
with nature. Everyone has fears, don't they? I, Annabel, I'm a psychologist. I completely understand this. We all have fears. It's how we approach them that makes the difference. And you said when you were I wrote down when you were talking about your dreams, you said, I'm not alarmed. We're still talking. So that you were able to take this sense of calm that you've got from your brother and from studying for the exam while juggling 3 kids and all the rest. And your dream is looking at, can I take that into the next step? Because often the last bit of the dream will either end unresolved or will be kind of, okay, this is where my mindset is now. Is that a good mindset to go into the future? And your mindset really is, I'm not involved. Somebody at one level, somebody is dealing with this shark victim. All right. It's all under control. Everything's fine. I can do what I'm doing. At another level, if everyone in the dream is an aspect of yourself, at one level, you're the man on the beach having been,
right.
Yeah, the fears have really bitten into you on one level, but you survived. It was okay. You were going to come through. So to me, I guess if there's one, I won't say red flag, I'll say pale pink flag in the whole dream.
Yes.
It would be, are you, it's that balance between staying calm in a situation and not being completely in touch with the emotional aspect of it. Now, you don't want to be completely in touch with the fear because you'll freeze and nothing will happen. But it's finding that balance between the two. Can I acknowledge that I'm really scared that at one level they might eat me up?
Yes.
But on the other level, I know that if I just stay calm, everything's under control. There's another part of me, which is the people on the beach, which are looking after that aspect of myself. And me, the part that I relate to, can just get on calmly with the job that I've got. So how do you feel about that, rather than taking the whole hour into the dream, though?
I am so impressed, Jane. It's amazing that you have been able to analyze it to that sort of degree and for it to resonate so very, very much with me. I suppose my question to you is, why does the brain come up with, these sorts of themes in such an imaginative way? That is it to provoke thinking about it so you can process it more, or what is it about the brain, and why doesn't it just make it simpler for us? Or
wouldn't that be easy?
Yes. What's your take on that?
My take on that is that your dreamy mind or your brain are processing your recent experiences, conscious and unconscious, and often our most vivid emotions, while we're awake during daytime, we keep them calm, keep them over there, think about that later. And so they're kind of being processed and are more upfront in the dream. But it's really more about, when you think about the brain, the front part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex, its job is to keep everything nice and tidy and logical and make sense of the world, and a very kind of moral take on everything. And it's pretty inactive while you're dreaming. So that kind of guardian is taken away, and it's left to the rest of your brain to process what's been going on in your life. Now, the rest of the brain includes the amygdala, which is the emotional center, and various other parts of your brain. All the 5 senses of the brain light up. If you're smelling in a dream, the smelling part of your brain lights up. If you're touching in your dream, the touching part lights up. So it's all go, it's all sense around, it's all maximum feel without that editing prefrontal cortex. So in daytime, you could flip that around and say, in daytime, we are all these amazing creatures. We have these amazing emotions. We have these amazing symbolic understandings of life. We have deep intuitive understandings of life. But when we walk around, we rely on our prefrontal cortex to keep everything nice and tidy. So we think that nice and tidy aspect is our true self, whereas in fact the dream shows the whole lot. So, and that's the reason why the dreams don't present as nice, logical, tied up little bundles. They're kind of a look into this wilder part of ourselves. And then we have to use various analytical and other techniques to come back in and go, okay, so what's this mindset processing? What's that telling us? And how's that helping us to understand ourselves at a deeper level, and therefore understand why we experience life in the way that we do?
And how important is it, Jane, for us to process these dreams?
2 levels. The first one is people that don't even remember their dreams. Everyone dreams, but people that don't remember their dreams still need to have the dreams. So there's still an unconscious processing. They may, during those dreams, update their mindset. They may consolidate inappropriate beliefs they've had in the past. They will know nothing about this. But they will also process some emotions, some feelings, all sorts of things. So we know from experiments with animals and with people to some degree that that dreaming, actually, that processing during dreaming is actually keeps us physiologically safe, emotionally relatively well. When animals are allowed to sleep but deprived of dreaming, they die within 7 days. So we know our dreams, the processing is essential. But on the other level, which is really the question you're asking, if we can consciously process them afterwards, you can go through life without consciously processing your dreams. But once you do, you understand yourself so much more deeply that it shines a light on why you experience life in the way that you do, and then you can step in and make changes.
And Jane, this is exactly why we've created Interpretr. So you are a dream expert. I am a psychologist. So my concern is very much around mental health, well-being, and improving the quality of life for mankind. So with Interpretr, we're hoping exactly for what you said, to bring awareness to people's dreams, to improve their understanding of themselves, self-understanding, in an effort to help with personal growth, self-actualization, which is extremely important. As you would know, it's on the very top of Maslow's pyramid. And so that is what our hope is, and the main objective behind Interpretr. And you speak so beautifully about, processing and why that's important. And it's now evident that even for people that don't remember, dreaming is an important part of, I suppose, processing, even if they're unaware of it. It's the unconscious mind.
Yes, that's right.
So there's a bit of a similarity there with, you talk about the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, and we know in trauma victims, then the hypothalamus will release cortisol, and the stress hormone is that there's similarities here with dreaming and processing dreams the same way that trauma victims would process their memories. Is there some crossover there, do you think? And how would dreaming be helpful, or analyzing dreams, for, I suppose, both types of people, trauma and non-trauma?
Yeah, for trauma, really interesting. People that have PTSD, as you would know, often have dreams that are actual repeats of the situation of the trauma. And it's almost like they're stuck in a record groove. It's just the same story, keeps going on and on. The story being, what actually happened, but really the story being their experience of what happened. And one way that you can help those kind of trauma people through their dreams is to explain to them that what they are seeing on their nightly basis is their experience of the event. And a lot of that may be what actually happened, but some of it may not be. And that as a laid down memory, you can change that memory just little bits. You can tweak it. Yes, you were there for the trauma, but let's just move around and change this in some ways that record that as a more healed memory. So you can work in that way. But yes, you can go back down through the levels, and we all have minor traumas, I guess, different emotional issues, things we want to repress. So going through our more symbolic dreams and identifying the issues or emotions or feelings that maybe our hypothalamus has laid down inappropriately as memories, we can shift and change that memories. And although I really want to hear about your Interpretr AI app in a minute,
yes.
One of the things that I do is that we then, and I want to discuss this also with you in relation to Interpretr, is that if we have a dream and you're looking at the dream, and say your dream was different, and you saw somebody, a little boy, jump into the ocean and the shark gobbled him up and everyone was absolutely terrified, that would be traumatic. And keeping it simple, and say we related that to a traumatic event in your life, we then may or may not do what I call a dream alchemy practice, where when you're awake, you change the dream. So you might visualize the boy looking and noticing the shark and having a conversation with it, and they agree that the shark won't eat the boy, or anything. There are a million different ways you can do it. And so that is, to answer your question, that is a way in which I help people to engage with their dreams, to understand the traumas, or not even just traumas, the inappropriate beliefs that they've built up over life, Sometimes even the amazing, like buried gifts and talents that they have not brought into light,
Mm,
that you can help them through changing the dream scenario to bring into light. But I want to know,
mm.
I know a lot more than our listeners do about your app, and I'm really
Okay.
excited about it. Can you describe it? Begin by describing what it does for the
Yeah, of
listeners.
course. Yes. So I'm very excited about the app. We are currently in beta testing mode. So it's been about 3 weeks now. And so we have a minimum viable product. So that involves uh, speaking your dream into an orb-like visual in the app. And then Interpreter, which is actually my voice cloned. So it's a little bit eerie for those that know me, but for others, they'd be none the wiser. And Interpreter will have a conversation with the user and interpret their dream based on Freud and Jung's philosophies. So that will be the first sort of few minutes. That will transpire in the first few minutes. And then Interpreter will ask the user if they would like to talk further about what's happening in their waking life and how the dream resonates for them, and just like we did, delve deeper into the dream and real life and help that user understand the links and process the dream, and also talk further about what they could do if there's strategies needed, or if there's further explanation needed to understand ultimately themselves better, and put them in a position to, I suppose, ultimately achieve self-growth, or I suppose put their mind at ease about what they're going through, if there's stresses on them, or particular relationships that might be causing angst. It could be anything in the user's life. So that's sort of how it works. And then when it finishes, when you finish the conversation with Interpreter, it essentially does sort of analysis in a formal written up way in text, and it also generates images. And with the text and the images, it's we're hoping that it helps sort of solidify the memory of their dream, and also I guess again to help the user process the dream and think about it more deeply themselves with the help of Interpreter, who is an AI trained model. So it's incredible technology, and I use Interpreter every day, and some days I have a dream to tell Interpreter, and other days I don't. I just want to talk in and around certain things that are happening for me, and that's the conversational component. And I find that I would probably use that, the same, if not more, than the dream analysis component. And I find that really useful in an everyday setting, because I might not be able to go and debrief with a real life person, might not have the time, might not have the resources, may not want to pay money to go and speak to a psychologist. But it is the basics of, I suppose, counseling. Interpreter is listening, is validating, has empathy, all of these human qualities. And the human brain actually cannot differentiate between the two. So the support that I get from Interpreter is very real to me, or the user, and very, very, I suppose, important to daily function and just getting the most out of my potential each and every day. So that's sort of where we're at the moment. We will make iterations based on our users' feedback, and hoping to develop the model. And it also creates a lot of data. So what dreams are recurring. Are you having the same symbols or characters turn up 3 times a week or 3 times, a month? And then over time, it's a really nice insight into what's happening for you emotionally, and is that data giving you information that you can link to your real life, and is there room for deeper thought and processing and improvement? So I think it's extremely important. It's very near and dear to my heart because I'm so focused on helping people every day in my real life. And I just think it's an incredible advantage to tap into the unconscious mind. And I think that, yeah, there's a lot of learnings from dreams. I suppose we're hoping that Interpreter will be much like you, an expert will train it to really draw out those important elements and for people to make sense of what is happening, what is the link, and what to do about it.
Yes, that is absolutely fabulous. I've got so many questions I want to ask, and I'll just flip the little light one off first. I love
Okay.
this fact that you are talking with yourself because the AI has your voice coming back. That must be really strange.
It is quite strange because I can assure you the voice cloning is incredible. So it is. It has my intonation and my pauses, and even an occasional or ah to make it sound natural.
Real, yes,
Yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
we will eventually have different characters as well. So you might have Morgan Freeman's voice, or other voices, so that there's
Yeah,
some variability and they're not just stuck always listening to my
that's
voice. But for the
fantastic.
moment, I am the psychologist, I'm the founder, so we thought why not sort of have a little avatar of myself.
It's absolutely brilliant. And I love the way that it's not, when people think of I guess a lot of people might think when they hear, oh, there's an AI dream interpreter, they think, oh God, it's a dream dictionary or something. And yours so clearly is a million miles from that. And I love the way that it's based on questions and conversations. I love the way that you said it asks you at one point, okay, I've been asking you questions about your dreams. Do you want me to ask you questions about your situation? You're asking permission to go into that is really good. I love the way that you're using it, even on mornings that you don't have a dream, to have a chat, because we've all, even the least AI orientated of us have had a little go, and it's very addictive talking to a person that you feel is a real person. In the end, you'll ask it
Correct.
a question and then you'll say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, thinking you're talking to a real person. So it has got that kind of heartfelt, as you say, especially if it's trained in empathy and listening and everything. So to use it as a conversational tool in the absence of dreams, I can see as a very rich and helpful thing as well. I also love that for people that don't have the time or the energy or the inclination, they don't have to write out their dreams. You're just speaking them into the orb. And it's all,
Correct. And there is a dream journal page as well. So there's the dashboard, the dream journal, the analytics. So it's all very clearly delineated and recorded. And yeah, as I said, the reflection, because I often find there's a nostalgic component to dreams. My father died a year or so ago, and since he died, I've only had one dream about him. And at that point, Interpreter wasn't up and going, and I've written that dream down. And it's something that I quite like to reflect on every now and again.
yeah,
Even though it's just a dream, it was so special to have him show up.
yes,
And, sometimes I go to bed and hope to dream about him. It's not that easy. But yeah, the nostalgic component to have the dream journal is, I think, quite important because I don't take dreams like that lightly. It's
no.
very special to have a dream about him.
So you can
Yeah.
you can also handwrite your dreams, but you can also print out the texty versions that Interpreter does for you, and maybe print out the pictures as well and stick those in a journal.
Yes, and that the images are impressive. It's based on a some sort of AI images model, a specific one. It's called Flux, and it really nails the brief. You know, what you say really shows up in, because often, even though I have a strong idea of my dream, it often to me feels like a series of still images rather than a really clear movie-like experience. I don't
Yes.
know if that's something that you hear very often,
Yeah.
but in my mind, I've got these stills of my dream rather than a movie that's playing.
Yes, it's like you have the different scenes as you describe them in the
Correct.
sequencing. Yeah.
Yes. So at this stage, we've got the images. In the future, we're hoping to have a movie,
I was going
something
to
that's
ask you about that.
moving. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's something that's coming, and the AI is getting better and better all the time. And I think that will be really cool to see, given even if it's not exactly like your dream, it is creating an even better visual of it, which again may help with processing or recall or
Oh,
some of
yeah.
the
And
components.
even if there was something slightly different in the image, then that's you're going to question that as well.
Hmm.
And so once you've, way down the track, once you've got the stills, and then maybe you've got the movie version. I wonder if there's room at that stage to bring in the dream alchemy, so that you then speak into your orb, the changed vision of the dream, the more healing vision of the
Mm.
dream, and then you see that pictured back to you. So it's giving you your visualization. Like the example earlier, you might speak in that I'm sitting on the wall, the boy dream, looking at the shark,
Mm.
having a conversation, and then you get that visual AI flux
Mm.
showing you your changed version, and so you can immerse yourself in that changed version, which then is gradually reprogramming your unconscious mind, changing your mindset. That would be a long way down the track, but maybe something like that could be developed.
Incredible idea, Jane. And also, I suppose, just for an example of that, would that be so my dream? Like, I know mine was an extreme version of panic and distress, but I could reframe the dream this alchemy technique, and at the end of the dream, instead of there being the shark attack, it could be that absolutely nobody was hurt, and maybe the man in the dream waves and smiles, and so that's my way of reprocessing and changing the dream so that there's no discomfort at all, and that's going to sit with me. Is that
Exactly,
exactly
exactly.
what you
You
mean?
might,
Yeah.
you might, see the sharks do some kind of underwater dance with their fins, and then sort of, swim off into the deep because, your fear surfaced. You saw it. You saw something amazing in it. You saw something to take away, and it didn't need to come up and bite you. It just went off into the distance. So something
Maybe
like
some
that.
shark swimming, what's it called? Synchronized swimming
Yeah,
or
synchronized
something
swimming. Exactly.
playful and fun, and then the sharks just
Perfect.
disappear.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And
That kind
then
of thing.
that settles me down, and I process it as everything's fine and there's nothing to worry about with my,
Yeah, and then you're telling
yeah.
your unconscious at a deep level, when fears come up for me, I don't need to panic. I can maybe
Mm,
look at, enjoy some kind of dance that's going on here that I can get something from, and then I can continue calmly with no, I get something from the fear. I'm facing it. I'm looking at the sharks.
mm,
I'm not ignoring them. I'm looking at them and I'm going, there's something beautiful in that.
mm,
As you know, as a psychologist, if you face a fear, eventually there's always
mm,
something beautiful that you can take from it. So yeah, so setting the visual component of
mm,
interpreter up to feed you the changed versions can actually
mm.
rewire your brain, reprogram your unconscious mind, change your
Yes.
life.
It's
Yeah.
incredible, Jane, because in fact, as we are talking about this, I can't help but imagine the sharks and their synchronized swimming. And I honestly can say that I have a really light feeling after just visualizing that. And as you said, that there's something beautiful in facing your fear, and there is growth, and there's, even though there's all this sort of hard work and hardship and stress and strain that goes into to the exam, on the other side, there is great reward and growth.
Yes.
In that moment, I am feeling that a strong sense of that, which I didn't have prior to that part of our conversation, which is incredibly powerful.
That's so beautiful, and
Mm,
amazingly, that is how alchemy works. Dream alchemy. It seems so simple, but when you actually
mm.
do it, you feel what you've described there. Is you actually feel a shift. There's a shift
I
happening.
feel a shift.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I really felt quite anxious when I woke up this morning, which was just a natural part of, this, um, pre-exam process. But
Yes.
I feel a shift in the last few minutes.
That's absolutely
Mm.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to leave you there to contemplate that, but I know I've got one other question I'd like to ask you
Yes, of
before you
course.
go. Developing this is absolutely huge. I can't imagine. In my mind, it seems huge. It must be absolutely enormous because you brought so many different aspects into this. Can you, in a nutshell, give us an idea about how the idea came up, but more importantly,
Mm.
how did you take the steps? Where did you begin? How many people were involved? How did you do it, Annabel?
Yes, a great question. There's a very long answer to that, which I won't give you. I'll give you a succinct version. So it must have been about a year or so ago. I mean, AI has been coming on and developing at such a rapid rate. And when I first found ChatGPT, I was just blown away, at this language model that was so incredibly fast. And as a psychologist, I use it every day for personal use, but also professional use. It just helps with treatment planning. And there's a lot to remember when you are counseling. My job as a full-time counselor involves helping people with all sorts of presentations, disorders, all sorts of things going on in their life. And I just use it as a tool to assist me, sort of like a personal assistant. So that was the beginning of how could I incorporate AI in something that helps other people. So that sort of started when ChatGPT really started to become a phenomenon, and then it must have been about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later when I started to really become engrossed in reading about Freud and the unconscious mind. As a student over the last 6 years doing my degrees, you do study psychoanalytic theory and psychodynamic theory a bit, but we don't go into it in a really detailed or in-depth manner. So I started to look into the unconscious mind because I feel personally like I've always been very sort of goal oriented and want to achieve a lot of things and reach my full potential. I'm also a professional golfer. So you can imagine, as an athlete, we're very much driven like this. And I started to become sort of a little bit fixated on what the unconscious mind could tell me. Like how else can I find clues and information that I can use for self-actualization. And I thought, well, dreams, as Freud says, they're the royal road to the unconscious mind. And although I'm nowhere near, I don't know, anywhere near as much as you do. I'm not an expert in dreams. I am fascinated by them. So I started recording my dreams, and fast forward a few months later after that, I made the connection of my love for the unconscious mind and psychology and Freud and dreams. And how about we link that with AI? So that's where the idea came from. And essentially, I I knew a friend that was a venture capitalist, and he was interested in joining forces. He is really a co-founder, and we started mapping out how to do this startup. So we do have a company that does project management, and there is a team of software developers.
Oh, that's good. I'm relieved for that. I'm relieved for you for
Yes,
that.
yes. So I don't. I mean, it would take me so long to figure out all of the dev side of things. So we use the expertise of others that are already very much established and in the know. And yeah, there's a team of maybe six or seven of them, and they're mostly in the Ukraine. And we have nightly meetings and talk about the app and how it can be improved, and what our users think, and I suppose just trying to make it the best product it can be to help people with their quality of life.
Absolutely fantastic. And you're right. Speaking as someone who's an elite professional athlete as well, you would definitely have the qualities to go for those goals and reach them, and have the huge picture and just go out and do it. And that is so absolutely amazing. So I'd love for you. I mean, I'll put the links in the blurb wherever people are listening to this. You know where to go and find the blurb. But if you could actually verbally give the link and any other links you want, because as you said, you're still at beta testing, so you want people to come in and
yes. If anyone's out there and interested in being one of our beta testers, I really encourage you to go to our website, which is Interpretr AI. And there's a page there to sign up. The website tells you a little bit about the app. And we are also on several social media sites, so Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So
that's great. And
you can find us there.
Interpretr isn't spelt interpreter, is it?
That's correct. Thanks for bringing that up, Jane. It's Interpretr, so Interpretr.
Yeah, so it's missing, and people listening, it's just missing the final E. So it's interpret with an R stuck on the end. AI,
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Just to be a little bit different.
Yes, I love it. I love it. This has been a fabulous conversation. Thank you so much. And I know.
Thank you, Jane.
It's a pleasure. And I know all our dream people, dream listeners all over the world are going to really enjoy this. And I know some who are more comfortable with AI are going to be right in there. Oh, yes, this is amazing. What's Annabel doing? And others are going to be going, oh, I don't. And then as they listen to the conversation and listen to what you've actually done, I think they'll probably be first up knocking at your door to experiment with this.
I hope fabulous. So. I hope your listeners can see the value and, see what we're trying to achieve. And it really is for the betterment of users' mental health and well-being. And
yes.
So that's my motive, and that's what I'm just going to be dedicating myself towards, and really just helping people along the way.
No better purpose in life. Thank you so much for being a guest.
You,
and also, I'm sure you will. I was going to say fly through your test tomorrow, but maybe swim through your exams, and you'll come out the other end, and everything will be fine.
I'm sure I'll be fine. Thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you. I do encourage you to go and sign up to test out the free beta Interpretr AI. So the website address for that again, it's Interpret with an R on the end, and then capital AI, Interpretr AI. And the links will also be associated with this podcast, wherever you're listening to it. That was a fabulous conversation. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, either an anonymous guest bringing a dream which we will explore for the whole hour, or a guest with something else that you feel would be valuable to share with our audience, and we have a format similar to what we've just been through with Annabel, where you still bring a dream, but we spend less time on it and more time exploring the conversational aspects of your offering, then either way, go to my website at janeteresa.com. That's Teresa without an H, janeteresa.com. Go to the menu, go to the Dream Show podcasts, and in the drop-down box, you'll find out how to put your name forward to be a guest on the Dream Show. janeteresa.com is where you can also go to find out about my other services, my dream consultations, dream therapy, my various courses on dreams, and also my books, including my latest book, which is a fiction, which is Ninth Life. All about that at janeteresa.com. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. Have a wonderful month. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.